Liverpool signs Rodrygo. Why did the footballer decide to leave Real Madrid, and what terms have the Scousers offered? Ruben Amorim is sparing no expense for a La Masia star. Who does he want on his team? Sancho returns to Dortmund, while Šeško chooses Newcastle. Son Heung-min's new club is already known. Where is the Korean star heading? All that and loads more in today's episode. But before we get into it, as always, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Ready? Let's jump into the latest transfer rumors. Manchester United have decided to get serious and are raiding La Masia. We're talking about Fermin Lopez, one of the hottest talents to come out of Barcelona in years. SPURS is screaming that the Red Devils have already slapped £61 million on the table, trying to snatch the 22-year-old from the Camp Nou. That is a massive bid, let's be honest, especially considering the kid's only just found his feet in the first team. But why on earth would Barca even think about selling a gem like this? It all comes down to one thing: they're broke. To say they're in a financial mess is an understatement. We've been hearing about their money troubles for years, and La Liga's rules are basically strangling them. Selling Lopez for the $70 million they're asking for would be a get-out-of-jail-free card. A fee that big would be one of their largest ever and would let them finally register players, make signings, and just breathe. The temptation for the suits upstairs must be insane. Some of them are probably already counting the cash and planning how to spend it. Long-term value? Sure, but who cares about that when your roof is on fire? But another part of Barca sees Fermin as the future. The guy is 100% La Masia. He's got skills, brains, and eye for goal. To sell him isn't just weakening the team, it's a punch in the gut to your own identity. It's a massive risk. Now, from what we hear, Fermin himself doesn't want to leave. He's Barca through and through, but let's talk about game time. He only started 12 league games last season. 12! For a player this good, that's criminal. The competition for a spot at Barca is a nightmare. There's no guarantee he'll get more minutes this season. And then, United rock up and say, "Mate, you'll be in our starting 11. Plus, Ruben Amorim has said he wants exactly what Fermin brings: energy, creativity, someone to light a fire in midfield. It's a perfect tactical match. The chance to be the main man in a huge Premier League project, that's tempting. And this is where United dropped the bomb: the wages. Fermin's apparently on about £64,000 a week right now. Peanuts for his talent, right? Man United are ready to double it. No questions asked. We're talking nearly £130,000 a week. A long-term deal, the Premier League lifestyle, that financial argument is a knockout blow. Can Barca, who are always skating on thin ice with FFP, even get close to that? No chance. And you can see United's thinking. Bruno isn't going to be around forever. Fermin is the perfect long-term replacement. He's young, gifted, and already proven. So what's the final call? It's a proper dilemma for Fermin. Stay at your boyhood club where you're one of their own, but risk being a squad player? Or jet off to the PL for crazy money, a starring role, and guaranteed minutes? You've got to admit, the situation is electric. Cold hard cash versus club loyalty, ambition versus romance. What's it gonna be? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Does Fermin stay at Barca, or is he the new face of Old Trafford? And the big one, are Barca mad if they sell him? Spurs captain Son Heung-min has called it a day. He's decided it's time to move on. 10 years, 452 games, 173 goals, 101 assists, and now he's packing his bags and jetting off to sunny LA to join Los Angeles FC, the same club where his old mate Hugo Lloris is already set up. Son's already had the chat with the new gaffer, Thomas Frank, told him his decision, and is leaving on a high, no drama, no scandals. And get this, he's leaving after finally getting that trophy for Tottenham. For the fans, this is a tough one, isn't it? On one hand, you've got to be happy for Sonny, but on the other, what on earth does the attack look like without him? But hey, nothing lasts forever. It's interesting because the Saudi clubs were after him, offering him mountains of cash as they always do, but Son snubbed the oil money and chose MLS. He's clearly seen what Messi has done over there, turning the league into a hotspot for big names. And it makes perfect sense. LA has the biggest Korean community in the US. Can you imagine the buzz at LAFC games now? South Korean fans must be going wild, and the MLS marketing team are probably having a party. Son's move isn't just another signing. This is a massive deal that could really shake up the league. MLS has been desperate to go global, and here's another huge step. Son isn't just a top player, he's a national hero, a guy whose work rate, humility, and smile have won over fans everywhere. He's an absolute legend for Tottenham, and they'll be talking about him for years. For LAFC, it's a no-brainer. They get a world-class forward, a massive new fan base, insane media coverage, and shirt sales that will go through the roof. And what does Son get? A new challenge, a fresh start, and the chance to get ready for the 2026 World Cup, which is happening right there in the States. So getting used to American football is a smart play. And you've got to say, Son is leaving the right way. He's always been a top professional, a grafter, a leader, a proper role model. So over to you. Do you think Son will smash it in America? Or will the league hold him back? Get in the comments. Let me know what you think of the move and if you'll be keeping an eye on him at LAFC. João Palhinha is back in England. Remember him? Just a year ago, he was arguably the best holding midfielder in the Premier League before heading off to Bayern, only to spend most of his time on the bench or in the treatment room. Now Tottenham are bringing the Portuguese back to English football, on loan for a season with an option to buy for £26 million. It's a deal that seems to suit everyone, except maybe Bayern fans, who are still scratching their heads over that £47 million signing. This time Spurs have gone for pure pragmatism. They desperately needed someone who can do more than just run around the middle. Someone who can win the ball, cover for teammates, and, if needed, just boot it out of play. With Maddison injured again and the midfield still lacking balance, Palhinha isn't just an upgrade, he's a breath of fresh air. At Fulham, he was a tackling monster, and if you've forgotten what an old-school defensive midfielder looks like, just watch João. Things at Bayern, to be honest, didn't go well. 25 games all season, half of them while injured. Company never really seemed to know what to do with him, and Palhinha spent more time on the bench than on the pitch. He still had 3 years left on his contract, but the thought of spending them as a sub clearly didn't appeal. That's when Spurs came in, with an offer that's hard to turn down. A loan with an option to buy is basically a free trial. If he fits, they'll keep him. If not, back to Munich he goes. Spurs are covering his wages, and Bayern save on a player they don't need. Everyone's happy, except maybe João, who now has to fight for a starting spot in the Premier League again. For Tottenham, it's a smart move financially. They need to strengthen up front, find a full-back, a proper number 10, but funds are tight. After the Gibbs-White saga, with Nottingham Forest demanding a crazy £60 million, Spurs decided to be sensible and took Palhinha on a deal that won't break the bank. And Palhinha could even make his Spurs debut against Bayern. Imagine, just off the bench in Munich, now lining up against his old teammates in a Spurs shirt. All in all, it's a very smart deal. Tottenham get an experienced midfield enforcer, Bayern offload a player they don't need, and Palhinha returns to where he's truly valued. If he can rediscover his Fulham form, Spurs might finally get the midfield solidity they've been missing. Now we'll see if João's second Premier League spell works out, or if he'll be packing his bags again. Benjamin Šeško is turning into the hottest property this summer, and a proper scrap has kicked off for him between a couple of Prem clubs. On one side, you've got Manchester United, the history, the name. On the other, Newcastle United, the new money with a Champions League ticket and a ready-made offer on the table. And it looks like Newcastle are dead serious. The Magpies didn't hang about and, according to Sky Sports, have already slapped a club record bid down. We're talking €75 million straight up, plus another €5 million in add-ons. That's exactly the amount RB Leipzig were demanding. The Germans, as we know, don't mess around and hate to bargain, so Newcastle just decided to shut them up with cash. Meanwhile, Manchester United are still stuck in limbo. They desperately want Šeško, but here's the problem. They need to sell someone first. Garnacho, Sancho, Antony. One of them has to be shipped out the door at Old Trafford before the Red Devils can even think about matching Newcastle's bid. It's a massive dilemma for Šeško. Newcastle finished 5th last season. They're offering Champions League football, a stable setup, and a clear project where he'd be the main man up front. For a 22-year-old with big ambitions, that's incredibly tempting. And United? They finished 15th. No Europe. I mean, what more is there to say? But they've got the history, they've got the brand, and apparently, Šeško himself was leaning towards United at first, despite the absolute mess at the club. If you want instant success, Champions League nights, and to be the star player in a team on the up, Newcastle is a no-brainer. But if it's about legacy, the pull of the brand, and the chance to become a legend at the Theatre of Dreams, then the Man United temptation is still real. The only question is, does he want to build something new or write his name in United's famous, if a bit dusty, history books? Florian Plettenberg reported that Šeško has already said his goodbyes at Leipzig. He's leaving, that's a fact. His agent is in Leipzig right now for the final talks. And Sky Sports says Newcastle's offer hasn't been accepted or rejected. They're not arguing about the money, everyone's happy with that. They're just sorting out how the payments will be structured. The player himself is supposedly open to both clubs. If Man United can magically find the money and agree a deal, the final decision will be up to Šeško. But the clock is ticking for them. While they're struggling to sell their fringe players, Newcastle are already sorting out the payment plan. And to top it off, Slovenian media are claiming the 22-year-old has already picked Newcastle. They say he was sold on the project, the Champions League, and being a guaranteed starter. That's not confirmed by the big insiders yet. And while United are dithering, I want to talk to you lot, my loyal but not yet official viewers. You've been watching for so long, are my videos so bad you're scared to subscribe? Or so good you don't want to rock the boat? I'm kidding, but that subscribe button is waiting for you. Don't be like Šeško and drag your feet. Ilya Zabarny is on the verge of the biggest move of his career. The Ukrainian defender has reportedly agreed a 5-year contract with PSG and is now simply waiting for the two clubs to finally shake hands on a deal. As is often the case, a verbal agreement with the player was reached back in July, but official negotiations with Bournemouth have been drawn out. The Parisians, in their typically stylish fashion, were in no rush to lay all their cards on the table, but have ultimately decided to meet the asking price, agreeing to a fee in the region of 70 million euros. This entire saga has dragged on for several weeks, during which time a number of Premier League clubs have circled around Zabarny. Tottenham, for instance, were said to be considering Ilya as a replacement for Christian Romero. There were even rumors that Spurs were prepared to meet all of Bournemouth's financial demands. However, as clarified by Fabrizio Romano, no concrete negotiations with Tottenham ever took place. Newcastle were also hovering in the background, but talks never progressed beyond an initial inquiry. In the end, despite Premier League interest, Zabarny himself was set on a move to Paris. It seems the prospect of living in Montmartre and playing alongside Ousmane Dembélé was far more appealing than another relegation battle in England. Negotiations between PSG and Bournemouth have been surprisingly smooth. All that remains is to sort out a few formalities, perhaps haggling over who pays for the agent's business class flights or how many free croissants are stipulated in the contract. But essentially, the deal is done. The salary is agreed, the 5-year contract is ready, and the transfer fee is acceptable to both parties. French media are reporting that an official announcement is just a matter of days away. Friends, don't leave this video without reacting, it really helps the channel's work. Please give it a thumbs up or down, preferably right now, and write a comment. We'd be very grateful. Interestingly, Zabarny could make his PSG debut against none other than Tottenham, the very club that supposedly wanted to sign him. The UEFA Super Cup final is on August 13th, and if all goes to plan, Ilya will take to the pitch in his new colors. What a twist of fate. One day you're defending the Bournemouth goal against Burnley, the next you could be trying to stop Mohamed Kudus in a match for a major trophy. PSG are getting a young but already very experienced central defender who isn't afraid of the big stage. For Zabarny, it's a chance to reach a new level. For Bournemouth, a fantastic piece of business. And for Tottenham, another reason to wonder why all the interesting transfers seem to pass them by. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. In football, a deal can collapse at the final hurdle. So, we await official confirmation. Jadon Sancho has, it seems, finally had an epiphany. Not on the pitch at Old Trafford, unfortunately, where he remains one of Manchester United's most expensive failures. But an epiphany of a different kind. He's realized that money isn't always the most important thing when your career's in a nosedive. According to reports, the English winger is prepared to take a colossal pay cut just to escape Manchester for good and return to his spiritual home in Dortmund. Sancho currently earns around 16 million euros a year at United. For a long time, this figure has been the main obstacle to any potential permanent departure. Who, in their right mind, would agree to pay that kind of salary to a player who has spent the last couple of years in a state of perpetual crisis? But now, as reported by German outlet Bild, Jadon is willing to slash his earnings by almost half, down to 8 million euros a year. Do you understand how radical a step that is? This isn't just a reduction, it's a genuine sacrifice to salvage his career, and it immediately makes his transfer to Borussia Dortmund not just possible, but logical and attractive. Moreover, Sancho has already contacted key figures at Dortmund, Lars Ricken and sporting director Sebastian Kehl. He has made it clear that he is desperate to return to the place where he was a superstar, where he was admired, not ridiculed. His willingness to make such financial concessions is direct proof of how much he wants this. For Dortmund, this is a gift-wrapped opportunity. 8 million euros is by no means trivial, but it fits perfectly within their wage structure and allows them to comply with financial fair play rules. They won't have to break their entire salary model for one player. Although Sancho failed to show consistent form in the Premier League, there is still a strong belief in him at Dortmund. Remember what he was capable of in the Bundesliga before his move to United. He was a completely different footballer, creative, fast, with incredible dribbling and an eye for goal. His recent 6-month loan spell at Dortmund in 2024 was the best evidence that the spark hasn't been extinguished. He started to play with flair again, lighting up the Signal Iduna Park once more. Manchester United, meanwhile, are simply desperate to offload Jadon. He was suspended from training and explicitly told to find a new club. His 16 million salary is dead weight on the club's budget. Juventus were previously considered frontrunners for his signature, but the Turin club pulled out of talks due to other priorities. And this is where Dortmund re-enters the picture. In my view, this is the ideal scenario for all parties. Of course, according to Sky Germany, there are some minor doubts within Dortmund regarding his creativity and how he would fit into the current style of play. But honestly, this seems like an attempt to find negatives where there are few. An in-form Sancho is a Sancho who can carry a team and create chances, as his previous performances in the yellow and black shirt have proven. It seems Sancho himself will prioritize a move to Dortmund, even if it means a financial hit. And that is the right call. Sometimes you have to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. And for Jadon, that step back, in salary, could be the step forward in his career that a return home represents. Is Darwin Núñez on his way out? It's looking more and more like it. After 3 chaotic seasons at Liverpool, the Uruguayan could be packing his bags at Anfield very soon. And if you thought it was just paper talk before, well, things are getting serious now. Saudi club Al Hilal aren't just sniffing around Núñez, they've already slapped an official offer on the table. The club that's been hoovering up stars for the past few years has got its eye on the Uruguayan. What's more, insiders are saying Darwin is the personal target of Al Hilal's new gaffer, Simone Inzaghi. The Italian is apparently banging the drum for his transfer. And the club, which is absolutely loaded with cash, is ready to make it happen. And fast. Talks with the players' camp are already happening. It all boils down to one thing. Is Núñez ready to trade Europe for a life of luxury in the desert? Darwin himself is apparently still keen on staying in a top league. Napoli were interested a while back and even offered a loan deal with an option to buy. But lately, the advantage is firmly with the Saudis. Talks are moving forward, and the project they're selling him is seriously ambitious. And then there's the money. It's not even a competition. Milan, Atletico, Napoli, none of them can get anywhere near those kinds of wages. Speaking of Milan, with Allegri back in charge, there's interest from Italy too. Their new sporting director, Iglitare, has made it clear Darwin is his top priority, even ahead of Vlahovic and Højlund. The Rossoneri have already spoken to his agents, but as you'd expect, it's not straightforward. First, there's a queue. Second, the price tag. Liverpool still want around 60 million euros. For Milan, that's a bit eye-watering, especially with other players to buy. And what about Liverpool? It's pretty logical. Officially, he's not for sale, but behind closed doors, they're ready to talk. Slot clearly isn't a massive fan of Darwin. For all his raw talent, Núñez never managed to nail down a starting spot. Last season, he played 30 times in the Prem, but only started 8 games. And now he's got to compete with Hugo Ekitike, who's definitely come for a starting place. And get this, Al Hilal already tried to get Núñez in the winter for a crazy 70 million. Liverpool said no because they were in a title race. Well, they don't have that excuse now. If the Saudis come back with the same money or even a bit less, this deal could be done before the season even kicks off. So we'll see. Darwin is at a massive fork in the road. Stay in Europe and prove the doubters wrong, or take the new adventure with all the hype, the big paycheck, and become the main man. What do you reckon he'll do? Remember that whole Lucas Paquetá saga with his Man City move that fell apart? Well, it is back with a vengeance. The Brazilian has finally been cleared of everything to do with those betting charges. For nearly 2 years, the FA tried to pin him for deliberately getting yellow cards, but an independent panel said the charges were not proven. And what's the first thing that happens? City are straight back in for him. Now for the crazy part, the price, 2 years ago, the clubs were basically shaking hands on a deal for £85 million. Now, according to Football Insider, City are readying a bid of just £30 million. The price has been slashed by almost 2/3. That's what a 2-year investigation does to your reputation, even when you're cleared. For West Ham, this is an absolute disaster. They just want to get this problem player off their books after all the headache he's caused. It looks like the Hammers will take pretty much anything just to turn the page and move on. From City's point of view, this isn't a deal. It's daylight robbery. Let's be real, City have looked a bit short of creativity in the middle of the park at times. Paquetá is the perfect man for the job. He works his socks off, he's got silky skills, and he can make things happen. A player like that, already proven in the Prem, should be worth way more. And they're getting him for $30 million? I mean, that's absolute peanuts in today's market. It looks like Pep Guardiola has played a blinder. He clearly never gave up on the Brazilian, and the second he got the chance, he told the board to go and get him. For Paquetá, this is obviously a massive step up. A chance to fight for every trophy going. Play for one of the best teams on the planet under a world-class gaffer. After 2 years of stress, that's exactly what the doctor ordered. West Ham will try to play hardball, but they've got no leverage. They need the cash to strengthen their squad, but good luck finding a Paquetá replacement for 30 million quid. So, it looks like we're about to see another transfer masterclass from Man City. They waited patiently and are now ready to snatch one of their top targets for a massive discount. Their rivals must be absolutely fuming. Getting a player of his quality for next to nothing is a huge signal that they mean business in the title race next season. Liverpool have reportedly set their sights on another Brazilian star. According to ESPN Brazil, the Reds have made contact with Rodrygo in recent days. And the most interesting part is that the Brazilian is said to be open to leaving the Bernabeu this summer. As you can imagine, when you have Vinicius Jr. and Kylian Mbappé in the same team, playing time becomes a scarce commodity even for a talent like Rodrygo. He is apparently concerned he won't get enough minutes on the pitch. And to be fair, his concerns are entirely understandable. Who wants to be warming the bench when you're 24 and in your prime? Of course, there will be a fight for such a player. Tottenham, for instance, have been repeatedly linked with an ambitious move for Rodrygo in recent days. He is seemingly their main attacking target. Thomas Frank and the Spurs board are reportedly convinced that Rodrygo could be the missing piece to elevate their forward line to the level of genuine title contenders. You know, the same Spurs who promise to reach a new level every year only to end the season without a trophy. But I digress. The amusing thing is, according to Spanish outlet PSG'S, Arsenal, PSG, and even Liverpool themselves had initially cooled their interest, deeming the Brazilian a non-priority for their current projects. Yet Tottenham maintained their interest, holding on tight. But here's the catch. Despite all of Tottenham's persistent interest, the deal may not happen. Real Madrid are willing to sell. But the same report suggests Rodrygo himself isn't particularly convinced by a move to North London. In fact, his preferred destination is Liverpool. Liverpool didn't just contact Rodrygo's agents without a reason before making an official offer. It's reported that the Brazilian has already agreed personal terms with the club. There isn't even a bid on the table yet, but personal terms are agreed. This hints at the player's serious intentions. If he truly doesn't get enough playing time in Madrid, a move to Anfield could be the perfect solution for him. Real Madrid are currently holding firm on their $90 million valuation. A substantial figure, of course, but there's a growing belief that a deal could be struck for a lower price closer to the transfer deadline. And we all know how clubs love to drop their asking price in the final days just to move an asset on. The Scousers seem to understand this perfectly, and given Rodrygo's valuation, he could well be the ideal replacement for Luis Diaz, who has moved to Bayern. Perhaps acquiring Rodrygo specifically isn't an absolute necessity, but a new left-winger certainly wouldn't go amiss for the Reds. Spanish journalist Ciro Lopez also weighed in on the Rodrygo situation, naming Liverpool among the suitors. He stated the Reds have at least spoken to Madrid about a potential fee. Rodrygo's situation at Real Madrid is, by any measure, uncomfortable, so they are obliged to speak with Liverpool and anyone else who comes calling. Even if Rodrygo wasn't always a guaranteed starter at the Bernabeu, he has an excellent reputation thanks to his contributions. Last season, the 24-year-old finished with 14 goals and 11 assists, and frankly, those numbers could have been even better with more game time. Speaking of numbers that could be better, so could mine. I see you're here. You've watched almost to the end. That means you're interested. But for some reason, for many of you, that subscribe button is like the bench at Real Madrid for Rodrygo. You see it, it exists, but you persistently avoid it. Is there some logic to this that I'm missing? If not, perhaps you could give it a click. They say it's free and increases your favorite club's chances of a successful transfer by 10%, though that part isn't confirmed. The Brazilian could play on the left flank, that's his preferred position, despite often operating on the right wing in Madrid. And that's precisely the position where a void may have opened up after Diaz's departure. All in all, the Rodrygo transfer saga promises to be a hot one. Liverpool are clearly showing great ambition in the market this summer, and it looks like they're not done yet. If the Scousers can pull this transfer off, it would be a colossal signing.